Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to talk about the Big Finish audio, The Wrong Doctors, which has the sixth Doctor in it twice. We have a multi-Doctor story, but both of them are the sixth Doctor, different versions of him. There's a more younger version of him set, looks like right after Trial of a Time Lord, and then there's an older version of him that's in the blue outfit that he wears a lot in Big Finish, or sometimes in Big Finish. There's also two males running around. The male from Trial of a Time Lord, and then another younger male that hasn't met the Doctor yet, but there's something up with her. She's acting a little different. This story is very all over the place time-wise. It's a very wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey style story, which is part of the story. Time is out of sync here. The two doctors are having to interact. The doctor's having to cross his own time stream. You have the two doctors meeting each other. The two males haven't yet. I'm going to be talking about parts 1 and 2 first, and then I'll edit in parts 3 and 4. Coming off Chimes of Midnight, it's a little harder to do this one. This is a good story. I'm enjoying it thus far. I've watched the first 2 parts at this point, or listened to the first 2 parts, I should say. And it's good. But coming off, again, the Chimes of Midnight, it takes a little adjusting to. I sometimes get a little confused about which Doctor's talking. Luckily, they do a pretty good job of keeping me up with that, especially with Mel making jokes about his multicolored rainbow coat or his indigo coat, calling him Indigo Jones a few times. It's really hard to know where to start with a review on this one, though, because it is so all over the place. I love the incidental music in this one. It does a lot to really get things going. It fits what's going on. It has that very 80s sound to it, which I like, very fitting for the Sixth Doctor and for Mel. So it definitely has some 80s influences in it. So there's some synth stuff going on. I know there's one point when Mel is cleaning this very high-tech computer room, and the Doctor gets there the first time, because both Doctors end up there, and while he's checking coordinates, I really like the incidental music that was playing in the background. I was sitting there like, kind of like the Two Doctors Sontaran theme. It just kind of gets in your head, and I'm like, yeah, I can dig this. There's a few other times where music is playing, and I'm like, yeah, I can dig this. We have dinosaurs running around, very Invasion of the Dinosaurs style. There's actually one point when a poor guy gets crushed and like only the Doctor seems able to see it, and then he looks and it's disappeared. Again, very Invasion of the Dinosaurs feel to it. You have other characters that have been plucked from time, and they know it, but they also seem to know what happens in the future in their timeline too. Like, they seem to know their whole timeline, even though they've been plucked out of their timeline. Like, one lady knows she lives from like 1911 to 1964 or something like that. And even though she's been plucked out of that time stream, she knows future events. There's a thief that kind of knows that too. Knows that he lived to be like 91. And then there's the guy who seems to be orchestrating everything. And I love the voice actor playing him, because he plays him as this kind of stiff upper lip. I don't want to say stiff upper lip. This very chipper guy. He's very chipper. He reminds me of a very slick car salesman. It's like he's very chipper and upbeat, but it's a very surface layer thing. Like, you never know what's quite beneath the surface with this guy. It's a very thin surface layer that he's showing, and you don't quite know what's under the surface with him. The voice actor doing Mr. Pepperbridge, or Pepper Potts, or Pepperbridge, Pepperidge Farm remembers. The voice actor doing him is really good. I do like the voice work in this a lot. Everybody's doing a good job. The guy who's kind of a thief is doing good. The lady who kind of seems to run everything is doing good. Of course, Colin and Bonnie Langford are doing a good job. I really like Colin in the audios. He just seems to have matured as an actor, and I really like how toned down his Doctor is in the audios. Plus, just his older voice seems to fit better, in my opinion. Just something about it. It has more of a gravitas to it I like. And there is a distinction between the two Sixth Doctors. Now, to me, it's not a big distinction, whereas the younger one is a little more like his TV counterpart, a little more arrogant and boastful. They even, the older one even kind of comments on that. It's like, was I ever that? I forget the word he uses, but and the older younger one was like, really? I love the Lewis Carroll quote when he says "curiouser and curiouser," and he has some other little jokes in there. I don't really remember. You guys know my memory's not the best. I tend to remember the broad strokes more than the fine details. That's a lot of times why I tend to do episodic reviews instead of just a whole story, because the finer details would get lost in a full story. But after the end of part one, I just didn't have enough there for a review, so I was waiting till I at least got parts two before I got on camera. The story, again, it's intriguing me. I get a little confused about which doctor is which sometimes, but it does a pretty good job of holding my hand there. The Mel's I'm able to follow a little more. Um, the story is fine. It's just it's so all over the place. I have a feeling it'll be better when I listen to it all. But I'm enjoying it. I'm not just going through it all at once like I did Chimes of Midnight, where I pretty much I think listened to all of Chimes in a day. I've spent about 3 days listening to the first parts of The Wrong Doctors. I'm liking it. It's just not quite masterpiece level like, say, Chimes is. It's more like the Sunmakers. The Wrong Doctor is more like the Sunmakers. I like it. I wouldn't call it essential or a masterpiece, but I really like the Sunmakers. That's kind of where I am here. I've enjoyed both the cliffhangers so far. I remember that. I'm curious to see where it goes, and I really want to know. Much like the doctor when he's asking the Pepperidge, whatever his name is, guy, he's like, "Who are you?" I want to know who are you, because obviously he understands time and causalities. Um, so I really want to see what the end result. Is he like the master in disguise, or is he someone we've seen before, or is he just kind of a totally new villain with a very good grasp of time? Like, he seems to have been expecting the Doctor, but does he know the Doctor is a Time Lord? So I'm really curious to see how that plays out. I love the fact that they are dealing with the fact that the Doctor in Trial of a Time Lord met Mel out of time. Like, even though he's meeting her for the first time, she already knows who he is. So I love the fact that this story is picking up on that, of him dropping Mel back off because, you know, he knows they're out of sync. He needs to get them back on the same page. He needs to go meet her for the first time. And another doctor is doing that. The other doctor is like, okay, Evelyn just left. Obviously, I don't really know much about Evelyn, but he's just obviously stopped traveling with Evelyn. And he's like, okay, it's time to go meet Mel Bush for the first time. So it's nice to see that those two things happening at the same time in this story, because that is a very logical story to do. Both of those are very logical stories to do. The younger doctor dropping off Mel, and the older sixth doctor meeting her for the first time. Those are two interesting things to do. So it's nice to see those playing out in the course of the story. So I'm going to go listen to part 3 and 4, and then we'll get reviews done for those. Hey guys, we're going to finish talking about The Wrong Doctors. Now, the back half, especially about the last 45 to 50 minutes, is a bit of a jumbled mess in places. It's still good. I like this story, but it gets messy keeping up with stuff. Stuff happens and I'm like, wait, what? And then other times I'm like, okay, what's happening right now? This is a story to me that would really benefit with visuals. Like, if I could see what was happening, just like most people, I'm a visually oriented person, that would make it clearer. Sometimes I'm not sure who's talking. I like the resolution with kind of the two side characters, the ones that are out of time. The resolution with them is really well done. The guy, again, I like the guy voicing the villain. He's really good. Mr. Pepperidge, I believe. He's doing a really good job the way he voices the character. And I love how he ends up, kind of his fate. It's well deserved. It's really clever. It's interesting. We get to see it kind of from his point of view, and I really liked it. Again, the story, I don't know if the story needed to be 2 hours. Despite the fact the ending does wrap up kind of quick. Well, it has kind of a Lord of the Rings epilogue ending that's really nice, but the actual climax of events, I should say, wraps up pretty quickly at the end. A little rushed, maybe. I don't know if the story still needed to be 2 hours. Now, it does, again, kind of have this epilogue ending, which I really like, and the Doctor and Mel, because there's two Mels in the story, just like there's two Doctors in this story. The Doctor and one of the Mels have a farewell that's really good. I mean, it's up there. We're talking about companion departures. It's up there. It's really good, and it's Bonnie and Colin putting in a good performance. And it's the older Colin that's wearing the blue suit, as he does in some of Big Finish. Talking to that version of Melanie B, I think it was, Mini Melanie. And she's talking about his coat, because she's seen both the doctors. She's like, I think I liked the Technicolor one better. And he tells her, and I'll wear it again for you. I shall wear it again for you. Which explains why he goes back to wearing his Technicolor coat, which is what he is wearing, of course, when he regenerates into the 7th Doctor. It's a nice way to explain why he went from the blue suit back to the Technicolor suit. And that's really nice. That whole scene between them is really well done. Really well done. The scene when the two doctors part ways with the other Melanie is really good. And then the doctor figuring out he's not ready to meet Melanie quite yet. There's a whole little bit there with that, with him working in the TARDIS. It's really, really good as well. It has a really good ending. I liked it a lot. The incidental music is really good in this, like really, really good. It's definitely like synthesizer 80s in places. Sometimes you can tell more than others, but I do really like it a lot. It really fits. I mean, it's definitely letting you know, it's a nice nod to the 80s, since this era of Doctor Who is, the 6th Doctor is from the 80s. It's a nice nod to that. I mean, it doesn't sound like 80s Who, but it sounds like 80s incidental music, if that makes sense. And it really does fit what's going on. I was really, really pleased with the incidental music. There's also this one character that's like, she's like the lead of the operation to mine this ore. I really like how she kind of gets hers, because she's all about profit margins, la 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 la, at the expense of everyone else, and it doesn't work out well for her, and I really like that. And the whoever voices her and whoever voices the captain that's with her, I guess who's kind of her direct subordinate, they both do really good jobs voicing those characters, and I love the end result of that a lot. And then the whole bit about the mineral they're there to collect, there's a little twist with it about how they picked it up on their sensors. That's why they went there, and how it's a type of isotope that like travels back in time. It's really weird to explain, but it's a nice little twist, and I love how the Doctor explains it. It's a really, really good story. I don't want to go into just full details because y'all might not have seen it yet, but I liked it. It didn't blow me away like Chimes of Midnight. I listened to Chimes of Midnight in a day. I mean, I just went through it. I loved it. Chimes of Midnight is a masterpiece. This one, I've been listening to it over the course of several days. Maybe a week, maybe not a week. Several days, 5, 6, 7 days, just here and there. And I liked it. It's not essential Doctor Who. It's not even, I'd say, a classic. But it does kind of like The Sunmakers. It might not be a classic, but it's really good. Or one of those type stories. Castrovalva, Wild Castrovalva is my personal favorite, Davison. I know a lot of people might think of it as a classic, but it's really good. It's kind of one of those. It's really good, even if it's not one that's just going to blow you away. Although, again, I do love the two Doctors interacting, and how the younger one's a little more TV 6th Doctor, and the older one's a little more Big Finish 6th Doctor. I do like that little, and even Mel points it out, how the older one's nicer, which I enjoyed that. So The Wrong Doctors, have you listened to it? What do you think of it? Comment down below and let me know. I did enjoy it. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. That helps me out, and I certainly appreciate it. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. I have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that as well. The link to that is down there in the description. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. And I also have a link to my Amazon wish list down there if I forgot to mention that. Most importantly, thank you for watching.